General Motors is navigating a PR minefield after CEO Mary Barra testified in front of Congress this week. What did GM know? When did they know it regarding faulty ignition switches? And what will they do for the victims? But really, does the new GM look an awful lot like the old one in the court of public opinion? So everyone has been watching this week and critiquing Mary Barra's performance in front of Congress, and really Congress's performance as well when they questioned her. Nolan, how has GM come out of this week?
Well, that's still to be determined. She had a rough couple of days. I mean, Congress, these Congresswomen particularly were extremely tough on her. They weren't buying this, you know, that was the old GM, I'm the new GM, I don't really know what's happening. It's harder for her to make the case that she's new GM when she grew up in General Motors. And I think when she went before Congress, the Congress members expected her to know more and say more. Of course, you know, she's still in the middle of an investigation. She's limited in how much she can say. She may be even limited in how much she does know. But this has not been, you know, this is perhaps the biggest automotive story other than the bankruptcy we've seen in decade years, and it has the real potential to derail the General Motors comeback.
When we have Congress questioning a CEO like this, what do we get out of both sides of this? I mean, Congress has an opportunity to kind of show off a little bit.
In Congress, this is what you wait for, right? You get one of the most powerful people in the private sector. You get to summon them before you, and you can have the floor as long as you want.
Make a big show for the voters back home, but it's always amusing to see these people going after a business person. Why didn't you know this? How did you let this happen? You're thinking, wait a minute, don't you all run the federal government?
It's Congress, right?
All right, so we can laugh about that, but I mean, does there come a time and say, what did we really get out of this, and is this an exercise in what?
Well, I mean, I think this is the theater part of it. It always is. Congress really can't do very much to GM because of this. This will be resolved in the courts, both civil and I think there could be some criminal activity that comes out of this. You read those memos where they're looking at this problem, identifying it, and then saying things like there is no business case to deal with it. I mean, this is like stuff out of the 70s and 80s with you know, deregulated auto companies doing crazy stuff. I was reminded of Ford with the Pinto problems that they had. Very similar kind of case where they knew that things were wrong and didn't fix it, and there was a lot of liability that came out of that.
Perhaps even worse, because this was a $5 part.
Right, that's right. I mean, you're not talking about a major expense on their part, and they still said, you know, better to let it play out than to recall all these vehicles.
So how does this figure for GM? And obviously, we still have the fall still has to happen for months to come. But what could this possibly do to a company that has come out of bankruptcy and has been touted as, all right, bigger and better and stronger and making cars that are good, safe, and reliable? What does this do now for them, for their customer base?
It's essential that General Motors refine that message and perfect that message of old GM versus new GM. So far, the sales are holding up. GM sales are holding up, and they have to reassure their customers that was the old company and they did business a different way than the new company does business. But they got to also make sure that's true, and they have to demonstrate it's true. How is this new GM different than the old GM? So if this incident happened today, it would be handled differently.